Hello and welcome to day 2 of my week of Natasha Denona. Today we're going to be doing a look with the Glam face and eye palette in the light version. I also have the dark version and I adore both of these palettes. I've done looks with both of them and as you can tell from the color stories, these are also kind of a one-trick pony. You can really only get like 1 or 2 looks out of them that are also going to end up looking really similar on the eye. But again, the 1 or 2 looks that you can get from them are so freaking good that I adore these palettes. Anyway, I'm going to start doing my makeup. I'm going to take my Inglot eyeshadow keeper to apply on my eyelids as a base. So, as it turns out, Natasha Denona is in fact releasing a new palette, which is called the Yucca palette, officially releasing June 1st. I'm pretty sure you're going to see this video post the release of this palette. So the Yucca palette will already be available for purchase by the time that you are seeing this video. And I don't know why I'm not more excited about this palette. It looks perfect. It is a murky green gold type of palette and it looks like a lot of the metallics in there are a very flaky glittery type of texture. And you would think that I would be all over this palette and I wouldn't hesitate or blink to purchase it, but for whatever reason I'm having second thoughts. I'm going to take the Dior Backstage foundation, so I'm not really sure what's going on here and why I'm not feeling more elated by the release of this palette, because you would think that it would be the perfect new Natasha Denona palette to add to my collection. I haven't really purchased a Natasha Denona palette since the Glam Face and Eye, which was for me personally about a year ago. That palette is an even older release. I bought the dark version of this palette when it was first released, and then I hesitated for a long time whether to buy the light version of the palette, but then Charlotte Holdcroft sold me on this one and I bought it, but I haven't purchased any of her other palettes. And as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I thought the Midi Retro Glam was a really interesting palette, but a palette that I felt comfortable enjoying from afar but not really participating in the fun. And the Yucca palette, for whatever reason, is giving me the same vibes. Maybe I'm leaning more towards eventually purchasing it, more so than with the Midi Retro Glam, which was honestly like a 100%. I'm just going to admire this from afar, but I have no interest in purchasing it. Whereas with this one, I'm still a little bit doubtful, and it will probably largely depend on what people are going to say about this palette, the kind of looks that you can get from it, and more importantly, whether you're going to get any interesting metallic shades in it. Because that's a little bit what's always stopping me with Natasha Denona releases, that her metallics, while beautiful solid metallics, aren't really a very exciting formula. I'm going to take the Bendy Avocado Concealer in the shade Light. They're mostly just your standard typical metallic eyeshadow formula, which I don't find particularly exciting, with the exception of those like Glam Face and Eye palettes, which contain a texture of her metallic eyeshadows that for whatever reason she has not made the standard. I don't know why. They're exceptional. But we can chat about that in a little bit when I put them on my eyes. So yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about that Yucca palette. The good thing is that it seems to be in her midi size, so it's not one of the big really expensive ones, because that would have really put me off. I really don't like her bigger palettes. I have the gold palette, which was an extremely generous gift from my friend Bia some years ago, and I adore gold, but I feel like her forte really should be releasing those midi palettes, because they are so much more affordable and nobody needs a huge Natasha Denona palette at this point. I should probably have put a little bit of the Glow Lost by Auric. I was a bit maybe too optimistic about how this is going to go. Thank goodness that Bendy Avocado Concealer is a relatively hydrating formula, so it doesn't look overly dry underneath my eyes. Anyway, I am going to apply my powder and then we're going to go back to doing the brows. Taking the corresponding powder from Dior as well in the shade 2N to set my foundation. Let's go back to brows now. I'm going to take the Too Faced Laminating Brow Wax. I've switched up my routine, which I also mentioned in one of my previous videos, maybe even the previous episode from this series, that I'm trying now to do my brows after I've applied my face products, specifically when I'm using this Too Faced brow wax thing, because otherwise the powder and the wax mix, like my face powder and whatever products I put on my face for whatever reason, just mixed together with the brow wax, and it looks extremely unflattering. So usually when I use this palette, I will just use the cream and the highlighter that are supplied with this palette, because I actually really enjoy the formula. This is sort of like a cream to powder, a bit similar to the Charlotte Tilbury one, but maybe just a little bit more waxy. And the formula of this highlighter legit is like the Golden Nectar, Golden Moonlight, you know, the highlighters from Pat McGrath Labs that have that really silky formula on the skin. Gorgeous. Today, however, I'm not going to use this blush, because I did actually use this palette a few days ago, and I used the blush and the highlighter, and I wanted to show you a combination of products that I discovered recently that I really enjoy, including a different blush. So that is the only reason that you're not going to see the blush from the palette being featured in this video today. Not because I don't like it, but because I wanted to show you something else. I'm going to take my bronzing brick from Victoria Beckham Beauty in the shade 02, and I'm going to mix the two shades here on my Sonia G brush. Oh, in other random news from the makeup world, I found out a couple of days ago, thanks to my friend Claudia, B.O.B. Mindset, I will link her channel in the description box below, that my beloved Guerlain Ombre G quads, especially the ones that are coming for the fall, the newer releases that I mentioned some videos ago that I was really excited about, because I have talked about how much I love the formula of the Ombre G quads. I think it is an exceptional baked formula, and I have two quads, and by the time you see this video I will have obtained a third one from the core line, because as it is, the fall collection quads, the ones that have been announced and on the promo photos, they look perfectly baked to me. But then, apparently in Asia, they've already been released, and I've seen footage of them on YouTube, and they are not baked. They're in little metal pans, they look like regular metallics and mattes, and I am absolutely devastated. Okay, now let me show you the blush that I've really been enjoying wearing with this specific bronzer, which is a combination that I discovered a few days ago and I've really been enjoying. And I'm happy that I'm enjoying it, because the blush is actually a pretty old one. It is from Becca and the shade is called Wild Honey. It was made wildly popular by Jaclyn Hill back in the day. Becca doesn't exist anymore. I don't know whether whoever acquired Becca products still sells this blush, but this is an exceptionally beautiful blush and a color that unfortunately I don't see going around the makeup community much. It is a very light beige brown, very natural sort of color in a matte formula. It has a slight sheen to it, but for the most part it is a relatively matte formula, which is probably the only thing that I don't love about this blush, but I adore the color. I don't really see makeup companies making colors like these more like beigey, browny, peachy colors. Usually you get either like the peachy pinks or the peachy corals or the peachy apricots, but you don't really get something that is like so brown in a way. So this is a very unique color of blush, and one of the few reasons that I have kept this blush around, even though it is super old. This is one of my oldest blushes at this point in my makeup collection. I want to say this is from at least 2017. And a couple of days ago I put these two products together and I thought they looked so pretty that I had to show you how they look like, even though the chances of you having Wild Honey are extremely slim. Hey, Lievert! Oh! We have been joined by Spider-Man. Hoi, Spider-Man! Oh, het is mijn kindje! Het is geen Spider-Man! Hallo! Ga je even zwaaien? Tegen de mensen? That's how much you get of a wave. Anyway, I'm going to go into the highlighter from the Face and Glam eye palette now. And anyway, let's go back to talking about those Guerlain quads and how absolutely heartbroken I am that they're changing the formula. I don't know whether that is a permanent change in the Guerlain Ombre G quads or whether they're planning on just bringing back the usual baked formula in their permanent release quads. I don't know whether that's a limited edition thing, whether they were having like sourcing materials or whatever issues when they were making this fall collection. Are you enjoying the show? But I am really sad because I was really attracted to both color stories. I thought they looked so delicious for the fall, especially with those like beautiful brownish tones to them. But unfortunately I have no interest in them anymore. I'm taking a little bit of Fix Plus to spritz on my sponge and mash all the powders on my face together so that they look a bit more seamless, and also to apply underneath my eyes for a little bit of hydration because I really miss my Glow Loss by Auric underneath my eyes today. They're looking a little bit haggard. Okay, you're nice and zoomed in, so let's talk a little bit about the eye look that I'm going to be doing, which is going to be nothing groundbreaking, because you can tell that none of these colors truly is groundbreaking. What is really beautiful about this palette is just how easy, like, it requires zero thought when you're applying your eyeshadow what you're going to do, because it is all spelled out for you. There isn't really much that you can do with it because you have 3 lighter shades of brown. There's really nothing that you even can really deepen out your corners with. This deeper shade here isn't even all that deep, and you have these 2 metallic shades here. This one is a bit more of a rose gold, this one is a bit more of a champagne. But what is exceptional about the formula of these metallics is that they have this like beautiful flaky reflective texture to them, and they are so beautiful on the lid. And that is unfortunately a formula that she rarely features in her palettes, for whatever reason. I'm very curious whether the new ones are maybe going to be in this formula, in which case I might be slightly more interested in picking up the Yucca palette. But this formula is one of the biggest reasons why I love this palette and the darker version of the palette so much. It's not because of the colors, and it really isn't all that much because of even the tones of these 2 shades. There's nothing groundbreaking about the tones of these 2 shades, but it truly is the formula. And what I will usually do with this palette is either this one or this one in my crease. Then I will either deepen up or not even deepen up the crease, and then I will apply these 2 on the lid. So I sort of like go between these 2 shades when I apply them on my brush. And then what I usually play around with when I use this palette, because I want to add a little bit of spice to the look, the way I spice it up a little bit is by applying inner pops of color. So I've done looks with this palette where I've put a lavender shade from Pat McGrath in my inner corner, or the mint green from the Bridgerton 2 palette in my inner corner. I have a number of singles from indie companies that also serve this purpose absolutely beautifully, and it is what we are actually going to do today. Another option is to pop a little like lower lash line pop, like a light turquoise or a green or some sort of a blue or a purple. Really anything would work. So that is another way to use this palette. You can always take the neutral shade of it and then elevate it to be a little bit more colorful by adding your own pops of color. But even if you were to just stick to this palette, you would still get an absolutely fabulous look. I'm first going to take this shade through my crease as a transition. It is also named transition, so why not, you know, go as instructed. Natasha is literally telling us where to put these eyeshadows. So I'm going to put a little bit of this one here in my crease and then bring it upwards, because I've got quite a bit of space between my crease and my moving lid. Hey Spider-Man.
Hi.
Wil je iets vertellen?
Ja.
Ja? Wat wil je zeggen? Heb je iets belangrijks om mee te delen? Ja? Wat is het? Een Batman pak. Heb je ook een Batman pak? Ga je die ook aandoen?
Nee.
Nee? Vandaag alleen Spider-Man.
Eerst Spider-Man, dan Batman morgen.
I'm taking this one through my crease and in the outer corner. And I'm not even going to apply the deepest shade today. I'm just going to stick to the lighter ones. So I'm going to apply this one here in the outer corner of the eye and then slightly bring it into the crease. I like keeping it light and airy when I'm using this palette, so I actually don't use the deeper brown all that much, even though it is not that much of a deep brown. This palette just begs for like a light, airy, soft, but still very glam look. I do like applying the metallic shades over glitter glue, so I'm going to apply the tiniest bit of my NYX glitter glue. just popping that here on my lids and inner corners. And I'm going to apply the two metallic shades, and I wanted to make it a point to mention it again that I do actually prefer using a brush, like a flat shader brush, when I'm applying these eyeshadows, because I think they're the types of eyeshadows that become more reflective when you apply them with a brush and you use these sort of like sweeping motions. So not the packing motions, but really those sweeping motions. I feel like they reveal that beautiful sheen and sparkle and reflectivity. So I also advise everyone to use these eyeshadows with a brush. And so for the inner corners, I would like to do some sort of a pop of color, and I've got several options. I'm wearing this really light blue yellow shirt, so I feel like this lemony yellow here from, I want to say, Luxie Beauty is going to look beautiful with this look. And I don't think I've ever used a yellow when I've done a look with this palette. We've also got the option of a somewhat more like sun yellow from the pastel multichromes or vibrant multichromes, I can't remember, from Cliona Cosmetics. Or I could also put this green eyeshadow here because it would match my nails really well. So we've got several options here, and I have to think about which one I prefer the most. You know what? I feel like the light yellow will sort of get lost in the look, like it won't really provide much of a pop because it is such of a light yellow. And I could put a brighter yellow. Let's see how that would look like. But to be honest with you, I'm kind of really digging what's happening here with that light green that's matching my nails. So I'm going to do that. So this is the shade Courtyard from Cliona. Like I said, one of their multichromes. I wouldn't really call this eyeshadow a multichrome. To me, it's more of like a green to pink duochrome with maybe like a light, like golden flip to it. So that's this shade here, which I'm going to take on my little flat shader brush and pop right here into the inner corners. It is a really, really beautiful shade. I will give it that. And I've been loving using my Cliona eyeshadows as pops of inner corner highlights. I think they really elevate neutral looks. Maybe to say that we have used the whole palette, I'm just actually going to take this deeper shade here and apply that on my lower lashes and smoke it out a little bit to complete the look. And that will be all. Quite a simple look, really. So here is a wide shot of the final look. Very soft, very pretty, very neutral, but yet with like a touch of fun because of that beautiful green pop of color, which I think fits my nails so perfectly. I just love how this look turned out. I figured the perfect finishing touch would be to also keep it very soft and pretty on the lips, so I chose for Lisa Eldridge Kitten Mischief, which is one of her beautiful, luxuriously lucent colors. Honestly, depending on how you complete this look, you can go in literally any direction. Vampy, red lip, dark brown lip, very soft and nude. Literally anything would work, but personally I just felt like Kitten Mischief today. I hope that you enjoyed this look. Let me know what you thought about it. Do you own these Glam Face and Eye palettes? What do you think about them? Are you going to pick up the new one? Let's chat about it in the comment section below. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!